Hey kidlets, I love you. Chapter 12, Albuquerque, New Mexico. It tastes like beef. Roy wiped some ketchup off of his mustache and took another bite of the ostrich burger. Softer, Bert smacked his lips. Richer, too. Tom reached for another sandwich, his third. He piled on the condiments. Harold, I have to say, this is the tastiest burger I have ever had, and I've tried them all. Turkey, buffalo, lamb, alligator. I tried raising alligators for years ago. It was a big mistake. I was also breeding beagles at the same time. Inquisitive dogs. Beagles. Well, hindsight isn't always 20/20, is it? Roy pushed away his plate and poured himself another glass of lemonade, emptying the glass pitcher. Several ostriches had gathered around the picnic table, jockeying for scraps. A spectacular New Mexico sunset was dominating the western horizon, and the birds were darkening into silhouettes. Bert tossed a piece of a bud on the ground, and the nearest ostrich pecked it up. There's something I still don't quite get. He threw more bud, and another bird muscled its way over and snatched it, long necked, striking like a snake. Why clone us at all? It must have cost a fortune. What did Philip Stang actually get out of this? Could be that Philip was a philanthropist. Why did we go to the moon? Did it serve any real purpose? We did it to see if it could be done. Then why not go public with the results? This had been bugging Tom as well. Why not reap the fame and rewards of the greatest scientific development since, well, ever? I have no clue. I was just paid to do it. It's the dream of every scientist. Unlimited funds and no boundaries. I made some money, yes, but it isn't about the money or the fame. It's about gaining knowledge, doing something no one else has done. And Stang felt the same way? He never told me. When his son got into politics about a decade ago, Phil retired. You'll have to ask him yourself after I set up a meeting. The calm night was pierced by a scream. Shrill, abrupt. Was that an ostrich? Two more followed, louder and closer. Coyote? Tom asked. The ranch is fenced off. The only time they scream like that is when Tom finished the sentence for him. When they see a gun. He stood up, taking out his Glock. Let's get inside. Now. They hurried into the house. Harold locked the doors, while Tom and Roy killed all the lights. Ostriches were now stampeding in from the pasture, seeking the safety of the stable, climbing over each other to gain entrance. Their yelps had an eerie, surreal quality. Bert, Harold, in the kitchen. Call the police, then stay down below window level. Don't move unless I tell you to. Got the back, Roy? Got my end covered. How are you on ammo? I brought 2 clips, you? Same. Tom opened the porch window and squatted on his haunches. He stared out into the plains, letting his eyes adjust to the dimming light. The temperature had dropped, and a night breeze wafted in, cooling the sweat on Tom's forehead. He moved his eyes back and forth over the grounds, watching for light or movement, listening for people sounds. Police will be here in 10 minutes. Harold crawled over. Shh! Go back into the kitchen. Do you own a gun? No. I think guns are just a symbolic substitute for male genitalia, and I'm okay in that regard. Fine. If they get in the house, you can whack them with your genitals. Kitchen. Now. Harold scampered away. The cries of the ratties, ratites, whatever, increased in volume. Something was spooking them badly. Tom looked hard at the barn, trying to spot anything man-shaped in the darkness. A gunshot. Roy. Tom spun and ran for the rear entrance, keeping his head down. You see something? How much you think those big birds cost? Why, I owe Harold for one. You shot an ostrich? I wasn't sure what it was. Figured better safe than sorry. And now the bad guys knows we're expecting them. Maybe I scared them off. The gunfire seemed to erupt everywhere at once. Windows shattered and splinters flew, and a sound like an exploding string of firecrackers echoed through the house. Automatic weapon fire. Tom and Roy fell to their sides and curled up, protecting their heads. The destruction went on and on. Lamps exploding and sparks flying and bullets chipping away at the stone fireplace and couches hissing at them as the fabric was shredded. Tom's gut was a clenched fist and his ribs screamed at the uncomfortable position, but he refused to move. After a lifetime, the shooting finally stopped. Tom didn't know if the ringing in his ears was a gun echo or his hammering heart. I'm going for the front. He couldn't hear his own voice and didn't think Roy could either. But his partner nodded and stuck his gun out the window, firing in the direction the bullets had come. Tom sprinted in a crouch to the front door, both hands glued on his pistol, and he braced his back against the wall and peered through the broken glass. He caught sight of someone running behind the barn. Fire! Bert and Harold rushed out of the kitchen. Tom could see the flickering orange they were fleeing from, with its accompanying smoke. Roy met them by the sofas. On my side, too, they're torching the place. We have to get out of here. Bert had his luggage in his hands and was headed for the front door. Tom grabbed his wrist. They want us to run outside so they can pick us off. So we're supposed to stay in here and roast? Does this place have a basement? A cellar? Harold shook his head. No. Okay, they're probably waiting for us on this side, so we have to go out the back way through the fire. Tom led them back into the kitchen, amazed at how quickly it had gotten unbearable. The rear entrance was a glowing wall of flame, licking its way across the ceiling. Black smoke hovered at eye level, slowly inching its way to the floor. It had to be 130 in there. Tom tried to make out the knob through the fire, but couldn't even see the door. He got to within 3 feet, and the heat became so intense it was impossible to get any closer. The only window in the kitchen was a small one over the sink, and it too was surrounded by flames. Tom went to the dining room, but that was a scene from hell. Every single bit of furniture was a large crackling bonfire. I think I'd rather get shot, Roy yelled into his ear. As the fire grew, it became louder, a roar that was drowning out Tom's thoughts. They went back into the kitchen. Bert and Harold hunched down under the falling veil of smoke. Tom looked around the room, hoping to see a magic escape route. His eyes rested on the refrigerator. It was a compact model, older, about 5 feet tall. He grabbed the sides and tried pulling it back. It was on rollers. Roy, come on! They pulled the fridge out of its nook and yanked the power cord. The floor was tile, and it moved easily. Tom positioned it 10 feet in front of the burning back door. Ready? Roy nodded. They got behind the refrigerator and pushed it, gaining speed and momentum, hitting the back door at a full sprint. Their aim was true. The appliance burst through the blazing entrance, flipping onto its side in the doorway. The flames rushed out of the kitchen in a big whoosh, starving for the new oxygen. They now had an opening. Roy took out his gun and climbed over the fridge. Tom went back for Bert and the doctor. He was helping them through the door when the gunfire began. Roy yanked Bert off the refrigerator and to the ground outside, the suitcases flying. Harold fell backward into Tom, pinning him to the floor of the burning kitchen. Tom struggled out from underneath the doctor. Harold's plaid shirt was soaked in blood. His breathing was faint. We can get you out of here. Try to hold on to my neck. Harold shook his head. You go. Tom put his arms around the man's shoulders and began to lift him up. The doctor coughed violently, blood bubbling from his lips. Liv, hold on, Doc. Just hold on. Harold looked up at him, eyes dreamy and far away. A pleasant smile crossed his lips. Live up to expectations. His body went flat in Tom's arms. Flame began to close off the hole they had made. Struggling with his balance, Tom gripped Harold tight and stepped up to the doorway. The machine gun thundered again, and Tom leapt off the refrigerator. He landed hard, the ground erupting in little dust pockets as slugs ripped into the dirt around him. He got to his knees and continued to drag Harold away from the house. Shots to the left. Roy returning fire. He and Bert were on their bellies behind Bert's suitcases. Tom took out his Glock and lay next to Roy. Where? On the ridge. 3 o'clock. About 100 yards. How many? I spot one. I saw a guy in front earlier, so there's at least two. Running in a crouch, Tom began a wide arc through the plains. The burning house was throwing off a lot of flickering light and shadows, but that worked to his advantage. A moving target would be hard to pinpoint. More gunshots. Roy firing far off to his right. Tom hunkered down and waited for the return barrage, trying to spot the enemy's position. When the machine gun let loose, it caught Tom by surprise. He was less than 30 feet away. The muzzle flash illuminated a short man with a crew cut holding an Army-issue M16. Arthur Kilpatrick, or Attila, as Tom had begun to think of him. Tom's response was automatic. Dropped to one knee, aimed for the head, and fired as fast as his finger could pull the trigger. Attila pitched forward, rolling down the mound of raised dirt he had been perched on. He didn't let go of the rifle. Tom ran forward, firing wildly. If Attila got that M16 around, movement on the ground, the rifle barrel raising. Tom jumped off the mound and belly flopped onto the smaller man, pinning the machine gun to his chest. He brought his Glock up to Attila's head and jammed it under his jaw. Anger and fear had released a potent adrenaline cocktail in his body, and Tom fought to keep his hands from shaking. Attila's body went completely limp. I'm not resisting arrest. Tom's finger tightened on the trigger. He had one bad moment when he didn't think he could stop himself, but common sense prevailed. When with his free hand he found the rifle and tossed it to the side. Roll onto your stomach, hands behind your head. Attila complied, and Tom pressed his knee into the back of the man's neck. Now, they found the name Kilpatrick through the police database. He'd been in and out of prison many times, remember? So, for him, going back to prison is no threat, and he'll probably get out really soon. I'm not exactly sure that mercy is the best choice, but, it's kind of ingrained in our police. Attila complied, and Tom pressed his knee into the back of the man's neck. Aren't you going to read me my rights, Tommy? Who else is out there? I'm all alone. Tom put more pressure on his knee, pushing the smaller man's face into the dirt. You broke your neck in the fall. I don't think society would shed any tears. Attila's voice was strained. Jack's here too. Tom fished out some disposable handcuffs, an unbreakable plastic line that tightened around the suspect's wrist and could only be taken off with tin snips. Zip ties. It's actually really common now. It seems like most police are actually using zip tie lines now. He looped one around Attila's hands and snugged it tight. How'd you find us? GPS and a laptop. We put a tracker in Albert's luggage. We can trace it on the internet. Tom uncoiled another length of plastic line and wrapped it around Attila's ankles. How are you in touch with Jack? Cell phone. Call him. Kiss my ass. Don't be stupid, Attila. So, you finally found out who I am? He rolled onto his side, facing Tom. You think you know it all now. You don't know the half of it. I'll get another shot at you soon enough. There isn't a place on earth you can hide from us. Tom considered standing on his neck again, or giving him a quick kick to the stab wound, but decided against it. The police would be there any minute, and when they showed up, Jack would run. They would have to get him another day. Tom took out his phone and dialed Roy. Got Attila. Jack's still out there. Stay alert. I called an ambulance. Won't help, though. Harold? Took at least 3 hits. Long gone. Tom hit the end button. He shoved Attila with his foot. So who's behind this? Stang? I want my lawyer. Harold's dead. We got you for murder, clean and tight. And we'll hang Jessup's murder on you, too. I don't know about New Mexico, but Illinois has a death penalty. Talk to me. Attila grinned at him, his gold tooth sparkling in the glare of the burning house. How's your ribs? How's your leg? I want my knife back, by the way. You have no idea how big this is, how deep it goes. You're in way over your head, Jefferson. Tom didn't like being called Jefferson, and he really didn't like Attila's conceit. They had this guy, dead to rights, and he was acting like it was a parking ticket. You know what I don't get? You've got all the same genes as the greatest warrior of all time. A guy who conquered the world. And you're just a petty thug who burned down his mommy's house? Attila lost his smile. I'll be coming for you soon. You and the rest of our siblings. The last cop that messed with us took 16 hours to die. With you, it'll be twice as long. Attila began to rant on about all of the horrible things he was going to do. But Tom tuned him out. He sat on the mound of dirt, exhausted, and waited quietly for the police to arrive. Chapter 13. Still in Albuquerque. You've got to be kidding me! Tom was gripping the phone so tightly his knuckles had lost their color. It's over my head, Minkowski. This is from the police superintendent herself. As you know, you and Lewis are on a mandatory leave of absence. I don't believe this, Lieutenant. Why would we get suspended? It isn't a suspension. We're keeping your pay. You're keeping your pay. But this goes high up, Tom. I don't have a say in it. Until this matter is all sorted out, consider yourself on vacation. One more thing. You have to turn your guns and badges in to the Albuquerque PD. Tom was grinding his jaw so much he could crush marbles. Lieutenant Daniels, just do it. And get your asses back to Chicago. I'll do everything I can to find out what the hell is going on. You guys must have pissed off somebody pretty important. The super wants your jobs. Puts Lewis on. He handed the phone to Roy and took a deep breath. Gary Watterson, the Albuquerque chief of police, gave Tom a sympathetic frown from behind his office desk. The chief was heavy-set, tan, balding. A few hours ago, he was their good buddy, organizing the fruitless search for Jack and extending over-the-top professional courtesy. Several phone calls later, the man put on his Pontius Pilate face. I know I butchered that, but I think it's some kind of Roman general attitude. I'm sorry, Detective Minkowski. It looks like a clean bust to me, but my boss told me the same thing. I'll need to take your shield and weapon. What? Roy yelled into the phone. We catch a bad guy and you suspend us? Oh, paid vacation, my ass! Tom put his hands on the desk, looking hard at Watterson. The chief seemed like a good enough man. But then, Lieutenant was a good person, too. How could it have gone this wrong? Wait, Chief, you're making a big mistake. I don't have a choice in the matter. My hands are tied. My gun and badge! Roy was screaming now. You got to have 1,000-mile dick be fucking me all the way from Illinois. Roy slammed down the phone and stared at Tom. I cannot believe this. Can you believe this? Excuse me. At least let us question the suspect. Tom tried to push his anger aside and appear rational. The lives of several people are at stake here. Watterson held out his hands, palm was up. Excuse me. I'd like to help, but that's impossible. The suspect was taken into federal custody an hour ago. Moat swam in Tom's vision. Where the hell did they take him? I have no idea. You don't understand. No. Watterson was raising his voice now. You don't understand. I know you guys are getting the shit end of the stick, but I can't do a damn thing about it, and neither can you. So give me your shields and your guns, and then go straighten it out on your end. I'm sorry, but there's no other choice here. Little back-ass redneck town, Roy spat. You got a pointy white hood in that desk, Chief? A vein bulged out of the side of Watterson's head. "Arnold! Johnson!" Two Albuquerque uniforms came into the office. They had been on the crime scene earlier, helping Roy and Tom search for the second gunman. Now they also seemed to have undergone an attitude adjustment. "These gentlemen have been ordered to relinquish their weapons and are resisting the order." Both cops drew their sidearms. "Please put your hands behind your heads and lace your fingers together." Tom and Roy exchanged a look. Tom sighed, then obeyed the command. Roy followed suit, mumbling obscenities under his breath. One cop covered them, while the other removed their pistols. "Badges, too." "Sorry, guys." The cop did a quick frisk and took their badge cases and ID. He put them all on Watterson's desk. "Thank you, officers." Dismissed. The two uniforms holstered their weapons and left the room. Tom decided to cross New Mexico off his list of future vacation sites. "I'll take care of these for you." Watterson's eyes told them it was the truth. "Now, get out of here." "The guys that did this," Tom spoke with all the urgency he could muster. "They're gonna be waiting for us." Tom could see that Watterson was considering this. After almost a minute, the man picked up Tom's Glock and chuckled. "I don't see how you big city guys are comfortable with automatics. They jam, they misfire, you never know how many shots you have left." Watterson took a key out of his pocket and opened up his lower desk drawer. "In my book, nothing beats a Smith & Wesson .38 Special. Look at these beauties. Matching set. Got 'em off a drug dealer." He placed the revolvers before him on the desk. "Probably stolen. Serial numbers have been filed off. We tried to do a search, couldn't find the owner." Watterson swiveled around in his chair facing the wall. Tom and Roy exchanged a glance, and then each took a gun. Tom spun the cylinder, noting it was loaded. "Thank you, Chief." "You mean for holding on to your guns and badges?" "No problem. Just do yourself a favor and don't get caught in my custody in possession of any type of firearm, or I'll have to bust your asses." "Chief," Roy put the revolver into his holster, "about that pointy hood thing." "Apology accepted. Now, get the hell out of here before I lynch you both." Watterson turned back around and gave them hard stares. Good luck figuring this out. They left the office and found Bert sitting in the hallway going through his suitcase. He stared up at them, his face anguished. "Did you hear? This is horrible." "How'd you find out?" Tom asked. "We were just told." "Perhaps I can replace the rear treble, but the paint job is ruined. There's at least $500 off the price." "What the hell are you talking about?" "My flying Heglermite. A $3,000 lure. Those maniacs shot it." Roy was on him before Tom could intervene. The cop grabbed Bert by the shirt and pulled him close. "It's your damn lures almost got us killed. There's a tracer in this suitcase." Bert's reaction was totally unexpected. Rather than cower or cringe, he drove his heel into Roy's instep and rammed his head into the bigger man's chin. Roy staggered back, more shocked than hurt. "I'm sick of you, and I'm sick of all of this." He squatted and began to close his suitcase. "Bert," Tom put a hand on his shoulder. Bert shrugged it off. "Don't touch me! I'm leaving." "They'll kill you." "Whoop-de-doo, like you care, like anyone freaking cares." Bert hefted both cases and began to walk down the hall. Tom followed. "Look, Bert, this is stressful for all of us, but we have to stick together." "I'll do fine by myself." Tom grabbed his arm. Bert dropped the suitcases and spun around, holding out his fist. "You want some of this? I won't put up with being bullied anymore." "I'm not bullying." "Bull! If it wasn't for you, it's him, or Jack the Ripper, or my father." "Bert, please, we need you." Bert blinked, some of the fire leaving his eyes. "You need me?" "Roy and I were just suspended. Attila was taken by the FBI. For all we know, he's back on the street already. If someone doesn't warn the other clones, they're going to be killed. Bert's face went from angry to thoughtful to angry again. I want him to apologize. Tom beckoned his partner over. Roy, come here and say you're sorry. Roy folded his arms and pursed his lips together. Roy. Tom was bestowed with an evil glare. Then Roy walked over to them, making it obvious he was in no hurry. I'm sorry, Bert. Say I can use your toilet. You can use my toilet. And your towels. And my damn towels. Now, tell me one thing you like about me. You've gotta be yanking my... Just kidding, Bert smiled. Apology accepted. I'm sorry, too, about the foot and jaw thing. Self-defense course. It was just automatic. You okay? Roy's features softened a notch. I'm fine, but I swear, it gets out that Einstein busted my lip. Bert shook his hand, held out his hand. Roy gave it a half-hearted shake. Okay, team, what do we do first? Tom winced at Bert's enthusiasm, but the but the man was too excited to notice. First, we locate that tractor in your suitcases and disable it. After that, I'm not sure. We have to find the others, and we have to talk with Philip Stang. You think Stang was the one pulling the strings that got us suspended? Roy asked. Bert made a face. Well, duh. Then I'd like to go pay the man a visit. He lives on a big estate in Springfield, possibly guarded. He may not agree to see us, and we don't have our badges. Bert frowned. Stang can wait. If they're planning on killing the others, we have to stop it, or at least warn them. How, Bert? Just call them up and say, hey, by the way, you're a clone of William Shakespeare and you're being stalked by Jack the Ripper? So the others are just burgers at a fat farm? Tom had to think about that one. No, they're not. We don't even know who they are or where they live yet. That'll take some time. We can do it on the way to Stang's place. Harold's record's all burned up. How are we going to find them? Just call directory assistant, say we're looking at Joan of Arc? Roy had a point. They didn't even have their last names. Their birth certificates. Bert snapped his fingers. That's how Jessup found me and you. We just get the birth numbers that came before us, and we have all the names. Tom nodded. I'll need an internet connection. Do you think this town has an all-night department store? They hailed a cab. Tom made Bert sit in front to avoid any more slugging. Their first move was to have the taxi driver circle the block 3 times. When it was obvious they weren't being followed, they hit the nearest bank with a drive-through ATM. The logic was sound. Whoever had the power to get them suspended could just as easily have frozen their bank accounts and credit cards. Tom and Roy each took out a few grand. When it was Bert's turn, he waffled. Come on, man. You're part of this. You have to contribute. I'm okay. You gonna pay for your plane ticket with a loony frog? I have some cash. It'll be fine. They didn't push it. The cab stopped at a 24-hour department store, and Tom went in and bought a portable laptop, extra batteries, and a Wi-Fi card. He also got a fireproof lockbox and a replacement inflatable donut for Roy. As they drove to the airport, Tom used his credit card to activate a new wireless internet account. Used a credit card. It doesn't say his, but I imagine. A few moments later, he was surfing the Cook County database. Damn it, I don't have my birth certificate on me. I need the birth number. Got mine. Bert reached into his pocket and took out a blue piece of paper. Tom clicked on search and typed in 112-72-0040-705. Bert's information came on screen. Since Bert was number 6 and Jessup was 5, Tom typed in the same number minus 2. 112-72-004-0703. William Masterson. I'm guessing that's Shakespeare? Who's next? He checked out number 3. Joan de Villiers? Joan of Arc? The person right before her was Robert Mitchell, Robert E. Lee, the cop who was impaled last year in Nashville. A damn shame. They sure could have used him right now. Who's number one? Abraham Wilkins. Lincoln? Okay, those are the good guys. Let's see about the enemy. Tom used the same trick, counting up instead of down, and found out Vlad the Impaler was number 8 and really named Victor Pignowski. Arthur Kilpatrick came next, and then Jack Smith, the Ripper. All of the players now had names. It was just a question of finding them. Roy frowned. I think my donut has a hole in it. Duh, every donut has a hole in it. Ha ha, Einstein. I mean, I'm leaking air. You probably didn't have the nozzle in right. Let me see it. Roy passed it to Bert, and Tom went back to the laptop. He started with Joan. Harold had mentioned she was a Hollywood producer. Tom tried the online yellow pages for LA and found over 30 listens for De Villiers. Switching tactics, he got on an engine that searched magazines, limiting his field to entertainment. He discovered an article in Variety that mentioned Joan de Villiers and her company JDP. Back to the yellow pages, he had a phone number. Tom saved the page. Next up was Abe. Harold said he was a used car salesman in Nebraska. Tom tried a meta search engine, this time using the words used cars, Abe, Nebraska. The first hit was Honest Abe's Used Autos. It was located in Lincoln, of all places. There was a large captioned picture of Abe Wilkins, complete with beard and stovepipe hat, standing in the middle of a car lot. Did the guy know, or was he just playing up to the obvious resemblance? Tom saved the info. Shakespeare was problematic. Tom knew that he wrote ad copy and that he got good grades in college, but that was it. Without a state or town, it would require some thinking to track him down. You have to push the nozzle all the way in so it's flush. Bert handed the donut back, and Roy took a minute to adjust to the proper position. Thanks. You're welcome. How about that? Tom grinned. Actual civility. Next time, push the nozzle in. I pushed the damn nozzle in all the way. Maybe I should push your fat head into your neck all the way. Don't get mad at me just because you're too dumb to blow up a stupid tube. The instructions must have been killer. Step 1, blow it up. Step 2, push the nozzle in. The cabbie was all too happy to spit them out of the ABQ Sunport. Tom tipped the driver exceptionally well. The group spent a good 20 minutes checking various terminals before finding a flight back to O'Hare. Before boarding, they commandeered a nice quiet table at a deserted cafe and tore into Bert's luggage. Easy, please! Bert played the frantic mother hen, gingerly putting the bubble wrap around each lure as fast as Roy and Tom could open them up. Hey, Bert! Roy tossed him a feathered lure with the colorings of a mallard. Duck! Can we please be mature about this? This all represents a rather large investment on my part. Okay, let's talk street value. How much is all this crap worth? Great, now I get the hiccups. Current price guides put the collection at slightly over 500. Not how many, how much? That is how much. $500? $500,000. Roy and Tom looked at each other, then back at Bert. You got $500,000 in these 2 suitcases? Roy's voice was loud and squeaky. Bert continued to rap. Yes, so please be gentle with them. Hold on, time out. Roy made a T with his hands. You gotta tell us how you wound up with $500,000 in old hooks. Bert sighed, slightly annoyed. When I got out of college, my dad took a check for 50 grand. Gave me a check for 50 grand. I made some investments. In a few years, I was worth somewhere in the area of $8 million. Bert whistled. That's a nice area. I had a big place, some cars, but all my money was tied up in the market. Not like I had 8 million in a bank account someplace. Turns out that's what I should have done. On October 27, 1997, the market dropped 554.26 points, a 7.2% drop. That's not bad. 7%? That's not quite how it works, Bert. Excuse me, Roy. It was the biggest crash in history. I lost everything. Current price guides put the collection at slightly over 500. Oh, sorry. Might help I change the page. I lost everything. Everything? How? Most traders diversify. They put money in a little bit of everything to hedge their bets. If gold drops, corn will protect them. But I didn't do that. I wasn't an investor. I was a niche trader. At that time, I had everything in technologies. They took the first hit and dropped like crazy. I refused to sell, believing I could weather it. But there's a stampede effect. One person gets scared, the rest jump on the bandwagon. In a few hours, every one of my stocks became practically worthless. By the time they shut the market down, I had about 50 grand left in my name. The next day, I lost that, along with the house and the cars. Ouch. I had to borrow money from my father. I think it delighted him. Ever since I was a kid, he had been trying to force me to be a scientist like him. When I decided to become a trader rather than a physics professor, it royally pissed him off. Sorry. Cheesed him off. I don't think Bert swears. It cheesed him off, even more than I was so successful. I borrowed the money from him on the condition that I enroll in a graduate physics program at NYU. Instead, I took it and ran. And the lures? I wound up in Wisconsin. After finding an apartment and getting a cheap car, I only had about 20 grand left. I didn't want to go back to the market, so I did a little antique buying and selling to make ends meet. The biggest profits I made were on lures. You could find a creek chub injured minnow, new in the box, at an old bait shop for $5, then sell it for 40 on the internet. As I made money, I bought more expensive lures, and now here I am in New Mexico, in a New Mexico airport, winding bubble wrap around my net worth while you two make fun of me. And your dad? Tom asked. I repaid the loan. Haven't talked to him in 2 years. They finished sorting through the first bag and started on the second. Tom had no idea what a tracer looked like or how big it was. While Roy continued to unwrap lures, Tom went through Bag's toiletry bag. He found a toothbrush, a soap case, toothpaste, deodorant, another deodorant. Sweating issues? That one's not mine. Tom popped the cap. A green stick stared up at him, smelling of pine. He tried to turn the dial on the bottom, but it wouldn't budge. Using his fingernails, Tom pulled out the sliver of green and peered underneath, finding an electric gizmo. Unless antiperspirants have become very high-tech, I think we found our tracer. He shook the contents out onto his palm. It was a small bundle of wires attached to a circuit board. So that little thing can be tracked by satellite? It's like a mini cell phone. Probably transmits its location every couple of minutes. Why didn't the Foxhound pick it up? The Foxhound scans from 50 megahertz up. Cell phones transmit below 50 megahertz. I thought everyone knew that. Smartass. So now what? Want to slip it in the pocket of some tourist going to Germany? Tom pulled the lead terminal from the lithium battery, effectively shutting the device off. I think I'll save it. You never know. Tom and Roy helped Bert close up his suitcases. They took one more quick tour around the airport to make sure they hadn't been followed, and then went into the men's room. In the last stall, Tom wrapped his and Roy's revolvers in toilet paper and locked them in the firebox he had bought at the department store. He wasn't sure if it was X-ray proof or not, any more than he was sure if the luggage was X-rayed at all. He figured he had a 50-50 chance of getting it on the plane. The only other chance was ditching the guns, and after the last few days, Tom didn't want to be unarmed for any longer than necessary. They went to the front desk and checked Bert's luggage and the box without incident. The steward announced their flight was boarding, and then Tom finally got in his seat. He couldn't keep his eyes open. "Hey, Tom." He peeked at Bert with his left eye. "What?" "What do you think will happen to all of those ostriches now that Harold's gone?" "I have no idea. The state will probably do something with them. A zoo? Sell them? Have a cookout? I don't know. Poor things." Tom closed his eyes again. Funny that Bert should be worried about the birds, especially when there were so many other things he ought to be worried about. Chapter 14. Springfield, Illinois. Tom cracked open a window, even though the weather was too cold for it. They had cleaned up as best they could when they arrived at O'Hare, but they had no change of clothing, and the last time any of them had showered was Roy's place 2 days ago. Even with a liberal application of Bert's deodorant, Tom was feeling a bit rank. "Gotta smell like smoke. Ugh." They were on I-55 headed for Springfield and former Senator Philip Stang. The trip was long and boring. There was nothing in the way of scenery but flat, featureless cornfields, and the radio was off limits because of an earlier Roy and Bert power struggle for control. The only good thing that happened within the past 48 hours was avoiding arrest for smuggling the guns onto the plane. That little trick went off without a hitch, and Tom felt a lot safer with the Smith & Wesson in his shoulder holster. "How much further?" Bert asked. He had asked that no less than 50 times. "How many times you gonna ask that?" That had been Roy's answer for each of the 50. "About as many times as you complain about your ass hurting." "Springfield's coming up. Next exit." 3 hours in the car and Tom's ribs were screaming at him, but that wasn't nearly as bad as the mental anguish he had suffered driving with Bert and Roy. Stang didn't live in Springfield itself. His place was along Route 29 on the outskirts. They had to go through the town to reach it, and Tom was surprised to see how little it had changed in 15 years. Springfield was the resting place of Abe Lincoln, a status that led to its prosperity in the middle of nowhere, and its being declared a state capital. Like a mini Washington, D.C., the town was packed with monuments and historic sites, and a field trip staple for just about every junior high school in Illinois. Tom remembered his trip fondly, not for the boring visits to Lincoln's tomb or the state capitol, but because he had gotten to second base with Shirley Velasquez when they strayed away from the tour group. He ran into Shirley a few years ago, married, kids, successful. Like so many of his peers, Tom could add a poor social life to his list of inadequacies. Perhaps after he went into politics, he would find the right woman. He snickered, wondering which was the more realistic of the two. Tom pulled the rental car into a fast food place. After filling their stomachs with grease, they apparently can't read. They climbed in the car again, Bert in front, having called shotgun, and headed for the Stang estate, unannounced. It looked like another Springfield monument, columns and carefully trimmed bushes and marble sculptures and fountains visible from a mile away due to the flat terrain and lack of trees. That sounds absolutely horrifying. I don't know if it's because I'm a mountain girl or what, but the idea of it just being flat for miles and miles, like in every direction. No, thank you. As expected, there was a gate blocking the driveway. A small brick guardhouse was unoccupied. Tom blew the horn. A groundskeeper, complete with pruning shears, walked down the driveway and peered at them through the wrought iron. "Yeah?" "We're here to see Mr. Stang." "He isn't seeing anyone." "Tell him it's Minkowski and Blumberg." "Mankelberg and just say Jefferson and Edison." The man nodded and walked off. Minutes passed. Tom became increasingly uncomfortable. The mansion had 2 floors and a dozen windows facing the driveway. If Jack were waiting in one of those rooms with a rifle. The gate made a clanging sound and began to roll backwards. Tom recovered from the brief shock and drove up to the house, parking in front of a 6-car garage. "Is anyone else a little intimidated?" Bert asked. They didn't answer. The front doors were cathedral-style, double-height, surrounded by ornate bay windows. They opened before Tom could knock. "Good afternoon, gentlemen." A man, young and big-shouldered, wearing a trendy black suit. He had a broad, dark face and a flat nose. American Indian, Tom guessed. "I'm Mr. Stang's assistant, Jerome. He's waiting for you in the drawing room. This way, please." Jerome trotted through the gigantic foyer, past a wall-sized aquarium, and up the grand spiral suitcase that seemed to be a standard in every mansion. They followed, feet sinking inch deep into expensive carpet. Large, dramatic paintings of battle scenes facing them on the stairway wall. Tom could take or leave art, but he found these repellent. They depicted ancient war atrocities, French Revolution beheadings, Indian massacres, feudal disemboweling. One particularly offensive woodcutting reveled in a landscape of impaled bodies, some long dead and some still struggling at the stake. "All originals." Jerome smiled mildly at Tom's distaste. "That particular piece dates back to the 15th century. It's adorable." They strolled down a long hallway, coming to a halt at an intricately carved door. Jerome held it open for them. Philip Stang was in a king-sized bed, sitting up against a massive wooden headboard shaped like a setting sun. To his left were several large pieces of medical equipment, tubes extending to each of his arms. The machines chugged away with a faint locomotive sound. "Is there anything else, sir?" "Thank you, Jerome." The door closed behind them. "Welcome to the drawing room, gentlemen. I hope none of you are put off by the pun. I would prefer to see you under normal circumstances, but my poor, overworked kidney needs a weekly dialysis boost. Come closer." Tom moved to the side of the bed, regarding the old man. He was like a white raisin, small, bald, wrinkled. Late 70s, Tom guessed. A gnarled hand picked up the remote control and turned off the big screen television playing across the room. Amazing. Stang had small blue eyes, and they darted over Tom's whole body, taking everything in. "This is the first time I've seen you as an adult. You announced yourself as Jefferson, so you must know. What do you think? Pretty impressive work, I must say." "We just visited Harold. He told us a lot." "Harold? How is the old workhorse?" Tom watched his face closely. "He's dead." Stang smiled. "He lived a long life. These things happen." "You're the one that killed him." Bert pushed Tom aside and got in Stang's face. "So much for playing it subtle." "Ah, Albert, I have followed your life with semi-interest." "Shame about the stock market. What is it you're doing now? Selling old worms and such?" "Disappointment. But let's try to be civil, shall we?" "When did murder become civil?" "You must be Detective Lewis. Oh, pardon me, you're not currently a detective, are you? I believe you've been suspended. Tell me, is your mother still working at that grocery store on Clark? She walks home, right? Even after the late shift? Dangerous at night." Tom had to hold Roy back. Stang's thin mouth twisted into a small smile. "Let's come to an understanding here, gentlemen. You've apparently put 2 and 2 together, but I have no idea what you thought you'd accomplish visiting me." You two aren't even cops anymore. Tom made sure Roy was calm before he approached Sting again. We wanted to know why. Why what? Why I did what I did? And I'm doing what I'm doing? Let's say that at one point in time you were necessary to me, and now you've become a liability. Roy made a fist. Right now I'm liable to knock you upside your bald head. I'd sue you for threatening me, but for some reason I don't think you'll be around for the trial. Bert's face became angry. Are you threatening us? Stang smiled again, his dull eyes twinkling. Mr. Einstein gets a gold star. I am worried I hadn't been obvious enough. Now, is there anything else, gentlemen? I'm growing tired of you. Tom tried to collect himself. He hadn't expected it to go like this. Stang had openly admitted he was going to kill them, and there wasn't a damn thing they could do about it. Whatever your little plan is, you're going to stop it. It sounded lame as it came out of Tom's mouth. No, you won't stop it. Sure we will, Bert said. You're practically a corpse now. I got half a tube of toothpaste that says you won't last longer than yeah. I got half a tube of toothpaste that's going to last longer than you are. Au contraire. I'll be getting my 11th kidney transplant tomorrow. Tom knew people who'd been waiting on their whole lives for one, and this ugly bastard had had almost a dozen. I suppose being rich gets you to the top of all those donor lists. Something like that. Another twisted smile. Why did you stop at senators, Stang? An ego your size couldn't have settled for less than the president. Unfortunately, I was born in Germany. The Constitution, which you had a hand in writing, Tom, states that a president must be born in America. I tried 3 times during my years as senator to add an amendment changing that. Every time I was unsuccessful. What a shame. I suppose there's always hope for Phil Jr. I wonder if he's involved in all this. Maybe we should pay him a visit. Stang's mood darkened. Please do. I'll instruct the Secret Service to shoot you on sight. It will save me some trouble. Roy, do you get the feeling that Daddy's little angel is involved in this too? I think so. Maybe if we go to the media, make a big enough stink, something will shake loose. Stang laughed, a short clipped sound like a dog bark. I'd like to see that. Go to the networks. Tell them you're Jefferson and Einstein and see what they do. There's no proof, no records. There's DNA testing. That takes weeks. Another wicked grin. You don't have weeks. The remainder of your lives can be measured in hours. Jerome, would you mind escorting them out? Tom turned and saw Jerome in the doorway. He was holding a pistol casually at his side. Big deal. Roy opened up his jacket. I got one too. Tom patted Roy on the shoulder. This wasn't the time or the place for a shootout. Come on, let's go. Jerome permitted them out the door and followed them through the hall. Tom was angry, but even worse than that, he felt powerless. What the hell happened in there? Roy shook his head. Bert agreed. I feel like a fly he just shooed away. They went down the stairs, Jerome trailing closely behind them. It's just round 1, guys. We'll regroup, do it differently next time. At least we know what we're dealing with now. A rich, powerful, psychotic egomaniac? Bert pulled a face. I was happier not knowing. Roy snorted. Maybe we'll be lucky. He'll die during his operation. He's only part of the problem. We also have to deal with Vlad, Attila, and Jack, plus this guy.
Tom pointed to a large portrait hanging at the bottom of the stairs. It was of an elderly Philip Stang, sitting in a chair. Standing behind him, resting a hand on Phil's shoulder, was a young man who bore a striking resemblance. Phil Jr., Mr. Speaker of the House. You think he's in this too? Does the apple fall far from the tree? Jerome stood patiently in the foyer while they let themselves out. So, what next? We go after Mr. Speaker? Tom shook his head. How? Even if we could get to him, what do we do? Tape some wires to our chest and trick him into revealing his plot for world domination? I say we go to the media. They'll laugh at us unless we have evidence. We need DNA tests. But even then, we'll need original samples. Well, we're in Springfield. Want to buy some shovels and dig up Lincoln? Tom actually considered it for a moment. Proof that he needed some sleep. How about the FBI? Bert asked. Or the CIA? We don't know how far Stang has influence. Between him and his son, I bet he could send an entire army after us. Then can't we just kill them both? Pop some caps? We're not assassins, Bert. Bert climbed him back and passed Roy the donut. Tom sat in the driver's seat and drummed his fingers on the steering wheel, deep in thought. How about the unholy trio? Jack, Vlad, and Attila. What about them? Well, they're involved in this, and they're going to come after us, so we could set some kind of trap. I hate sitting around, waiting for things to happen. Plus, we caught one already, and they just let him go. And what about the other clones? Bert asked. They're on the list, too. Okay, let me think. Tom rubbed his temples. The situation seemed pretty hopeless. With the bad guy so high up in government, they couldn't expect any help through the official channels. They could try to go over his head, but Tom didn't have any high hopes the president would take their calls. Stang said we're a liability. Yeah, what did he mean by that? Obviously, us being alive is bad for him somehow. He wants us dead for a reason. And it can't because we know too much, because he wants the other clones dead as well. And they don't know anything. Look, we're not cops now, right? So let's say we grab Attila or Jack. We wouldn't have to take him in. Maybe he'd tell us what's going on. He wouldn't want to talk. Roy's face got very serious. I can be persuasive. Tom looked at Roy, then at Bert. Do we all agree then? We try to grab one of the bad guys? What about saving the other clones? We can do both. I'm in. Me too. Okay then. Tom started the car and cranked up the heat. We know Joan of Arc is in Hollywood, and Abe Lincoln is in Nebraska. Always wanted to see Hollywood, Bert mused. Me too. Sounds good. Tom cruised down the driveway and through the gate, leaving the Stang estate. California, here we come.